Morning, I'm Elmer Soriano from Civica Institute. It's a question for Governor
Governor Salceda.
Given that Metro Manila doesn't have a governor, di ba? And that itong zero casualty is a body of agreements across different agencies, who do you think should be providing this kind of leadership in the whole of Manila thing?
I think Manila should throw it to Navotas. Throw all the problems to their neighbors. I mean, that will happen. That is in the tendency for problems to migrate. No, I'm just joking kayo naman. You're too serious. Unless there are laws, but ang daming pera ng mga yan, no? 54 billion ang pera ng mga yan. Kumukuha pa nga sa IRA eh. Kailangan managot na rin sila. Mabuti naririnig ko ito Pasig. Hindi lang naman yan yung kaartehan ng mga ganing-ganito. Kailangan nila na ba ang likas nyo? Ina ba na na-relocate nyo? Kailangan simula na pag-usapan. Tanungin nyo Manila, ilan na ba ni-relocate nyo? Doon sa mga informal riverbank settlers. A lot of money. Kami sa Albay, dito, halimbawa sa Green Hills, hindi, ang galing-galing ng responders doon, ha? May mga matataas pang ganun. So, in terms of, kasi, ang DRR, simple lang naman, di ba? Risk minus capacity, hazard times exposure minus capacity is equal. Yan, taas-taas ng capacity dito. Kaya wala man namamatay sa Metro Manila. Yung mga nag-aantay lang sa taas ng bubong, hinihintay na ma-save sila ni si Christine Reyes, sino ba yun? ni Richard Gutierrez. Yun. No, I think we should make them accountable already. What are you doing with your DRR funds? I can show you. He knows. Tinatago ko nga sa kanya, laki-laki na naipon ko. Sabi ko, wag mo naman akong, kasi nga ako para yan sa DRR ko. I was able to mount almost 143 million for a small province like Albay. We saved and we followed the logic of the law of Republic Act 10121 that 70% should keep mounting, and so you will have the means in order to wala. So I think to me, bago tayo magsimula sa pag-usapan kung paano natin mamamanage yung interspatial risk, I think you should put everybody on their toes. They have 54 billion in resources, my God, plus the resources of their business community, plus the resources of NDRRMC, na halos yun ang kanilang disaster management office. Ang daya-daya nga eh.
I think the media should start looking at how disaster funds are being spent. There's somebody in the back. Okay. Sandali lang, 1 minute.
Just a rejoinder po, I
Yes.
think may relation yung question na yun with what was mentioned earlier. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have right now. I think I'm speaking for myself. The understanding, not only understanding, but internalization and acceptance and internalization by our local chief executives relative to 10121. In our effort, in my effort to go around and more or less spread the gospel relative to what disaster risk reduction management should be in the context of 10121. Alam niyo, nakakalungkot to eh. I've talked to a number of mayors. In fact, there was one mayor, hindi ko na sabihin kung anong bayan, anong probinsya.
Ibulong nyo na lang mamaya.
Ang sabi po sa akin Yusek, okay na ba yung vice mayor ko, yung gagawin kong disaster officer ko? So, I mean, it's a clear manifestation that even the mayor himself does not understand what he's doing. Vice mayor niya, gagawin niya yung DRRO. Sabi ko, alam niyo, mayor, pinapakita nyo lang na mukhang kailangan basahin nyo pat intindihin kung ano yung DRR. I mean, he got my goat. But in trying to be very, very diplomatic about it, but slam on him na if you cannot even understand what it is, how can you expect, Gob, for him to be able to manage that era niya relative to disaster risk reduction management. Malalim pa ho yung malalim pa yung challenge natin at malayo pa ho ang ano. That's why in so far as we're concerned, ang focus ho namin ngayon is we're putting a lot of emphasis on the community-based disaster risk reduction management. Hoping na from the bottom up, ito mga botante ang tutulak sa kanila, Mayor, naiintindihan nyo ba kung ano yung DRR? And pwede naman ho natin gawing bibingka eh. Meaning the pressure from up and the pressure from the voters themselves. It's the language that, I mean, with all due respect to the chief executives, marami rin po ang talaga magagaling, pareho ni Governor Salceda. Marami rin ho ang medyo, hindi naman natin masabi na hindi magaling, kundi really a more so anyway, to cut the long story short,
Yes.
yun po, I cannot agree more with that. But that's a challenge not only to us, the disaster managers from the national level, but the partnership we have, media for that matter, and the other stakeholders.
Okay, I think
Before,
before...
Nicole, baka magkama. 54 billion is the total resources ng mga LGUs in Metro Manila. So you take 5% of that, you have 2.5 billion for DRR.
Malaking pera yun. The lady in the back, but siguro after her, we'd want to hear from the ILG also. Kasi nga, bakit ganon? If Pasig can do it, Albay can do it, kahit Metro Manila lang eh. Bakit iba-iba yung systems? And how do we harmonize efforts sa Metro Manila? But before that, the lady in the back.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, it works.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lynn Melo Santos from FIVOX DOST.
FIVOX.
Yes. And I'd like to say thank you to Governor Salceda for sharing his philosophy about zero casualty. Sir, and also for Sir Richie, for pointing out that sana wala na lang response. Of the 4 thematic areas, diba? Sana we are spending more on preparedness and mitigation, very short on response, and again, very long on the building better again. Also from Governor Salceda, sana wala na yung building back better, but building better from the start. Sir, yung you also said, Governor Salceda, that avoidance is the simplest, as avoidance of hazard, for example, by being away from hazard zone, seem to be the simplest solution to be safe from hazards. Yes, but it seems to be the most difficult to implement, na po. So, to avoid or not to avoid is a political choice. Tama po ba yun? It is a policy kung gagawin ng LGU na mag-i-implement ba sila ng zone of avoidance. Ito yung mga high hazard areas. Walang, walang, say, permanent settlement.
So very political.
Sa avoid, po. Oh, pero I also think that avoidance is a citizen's choice. It can also be our choice. Kung pwede. Diba? Being a civic being, yun yata yung, is that the reference to Immanuel Kant, sir? Yung being a civic being means we look at our duties more than our rights. Diba? More than entitlements, we have a duty first para hindi tayo na sagabal sa society. Yan, sana. Something from our individual. Sir, but also, yung zero casualty, because it is referring to the very short time na response period, perhaps this can also be upscaled to yung positive side na yung 100% resiliency. When we are 100% resilience, it means kahit may dumadating dyan, walang effect sa atin. Sabi po kanina yung zero casualty ay meron pa ring impact to economy. But if we are 100% resilient, siguro it's a vision. It's a vision. Pero pag 100% resilient na tayo, then wala nang effect sa atin yung mga hazards. Thank you.
Okay, Director Brion.
Different local government units have different capabilities. It's pure luck for Metro Manila to have very rich LGUs because of the over-concentration of development here in the National Capital Region. I guess throughout the country, it's only in in NCR, where DILG is very keen on auditing resources of our local DRRMOs. I don't find that effort in different regions. Thank God, after pouring in financial aid for Bohol earthquake-affected and Yolanda-stricken provinces of something like almost $1 billion. The entire NCR still has, I would say, more than $1.5 billion in funds. Thank God there's no disaster affecting Metro Manila the past 3 years. I guess it's really a matter of resourcefulness and initiative. It's also a matter of strategies, governance strategies. For example, complementation between and among levels of local governments, convergence at certain thematic area so that we have a concentration of focus and effort, synchronization in terms of procurement and alignment of other resources. There are many ways that can be done. We don't have appropriations for DRRM in DILG, but mind you, we're able to do CBDRM trainings, we're able to do disaster preparedness audit, and lots more. It really all depends upon commitment.
Okay, any questions or reactions? Yes. Elna?
I'm from the Citizens Disaster Response Center. Because I take off point from what the gentleman from Pasig shared, that we noticed that there is no continuity nga. Yung banggit niya na people are trained for disaster preparedness, pero hindi nagpo-progress. So next training, yun nga, inuulit na naman. So at saka napansin din namin when there are gatherings like this, yung mga people na nasa ano talaga, yung vulnerable areas, kakaunti sila doon. Of course, hindi naman natin ma-expect na nandito sila. Marami sila dito. Pero siguro after gatherings like this, sila yung mas dapat piniprepare para yun nga prevention, tapos mitigation, tsaka preparedness, mai-address talaga. Kasi sila yung palaging na disaster.
From the private sector, meron bang nag-a-address ng ganitong pangangailangan? Yung training and going down to the communities that are adversely affected? Yes. Darwin from SMART.
Thank you very much. We're very fortunate to have been given the opportunity to work with Barangay Tumana. After Ondoy, we were also victims of the typhoon. Our founder got killed during Ondoy, and 200 of our employees had to be rescued on rooftops. And we realized then that to be prepared to have zero casualties, we need to start at home. Meaning your home, your office, your fellow workers, because we cannot really expect our engineers to be on site to restore cellular coverage if they are worried about their families. So with that framework in mind, we said, why not go to communities where nandun yung mga employees din. And it's good that nagsimula yung Noah's Ark project under the Corporate Network for Disaster Response. It's a 6-month process guided by the province of Albay. Sila Dr. Cedric Daet, sila po ang paborito naming resource person. Ginaguide talaga yung buong barangay, yung kanilang organization, yung kanilang protocols, including an actual drill where yung mga families will have their own appointed classrooms where they can evacuate. Meron din pong lactation room para sa nursing mothers, meron para sa mga may sakit, at meron para sa mga elderly. So pagdating po ng relief, maayos. Kaya we're very happy yung report ng Tumana, Barangay Tumana, na pag nagpapa-update kami, anong kailangan tulong nyo, sasabihin sa amin, sige, padalhan nyo sa amin, ibibigay din namin sa kapitbahay namin. Ganon. And we're also glad that ang Petro naman, in-adopt naman yung Barangay Nangka, ang Ayala Foundation adopted Barangay Malanday, and this is going on right now. As we speak, the province of Cebu is together with ProLife UK and again Petron, and again through the office of the APSEMO in Albay, are doing the replication of what Albay is doing. So nagtutulungan po ang private sector together with the community and with the province of Albay.
Pero nasan yung gaps? Kasi kung merong ginagawa yung private sector, meron namang efforts, although uneven, on the part of LGUs, yung mga taong naapektuhan, the community organizers, those working with people who are affected, nasan yung pagkukulang na baka hindi pa na-address ng mga responders? Yes.
Hi, I'm Selena Agaton, a Google USAID fellow. And it's a good segue into the work that we're doing here, actually, in the Philippines, where we're doing a cross-sector approach. Just like here, we have various groups from NGO to private sector and community organizers, but how many of us are actually sharing our data, sharing our projects. So what we're doing is doing a mapping exercise, and we go beyond disaster, so beyond Typhoon Yolanda and other subsequent disasters. What we're focused on is community resiliency mapping. So at the very base layer, we map geohazards, and it's a cross-sector approach again in partnership with barangay community leaders, with the local LGUs, with universities, so it's part of their curriculum, and we're teaching people how to map and to map their areas, not just for disaster risk and preparedness and response, but also to map the necessary infrastructure that they need. So we want governments and other groups to see mapping as part of their infrastructure, the way they see roads and highways and cell phone services. It's really hard to provide programming and to create policy if you only have one part of the picture. So what we're doing is applying geohazard data and then the NGO data where we map out where the NGOs are located and where they're dispersing goods and services, where the government is providing goods and services, and the vital citizen sector is able to apply additional aid to those gaps, but it is on one platform and it visualizes the data. So what that means is, kung may isang report lang, maliit yung circle sa map. Pero if we get 500 reports, for example, in water in Palo, the circle is this big. So at a glance, you don't have to be a techie or a PhD, nakikita mo na yung priority sa particular barangay. But what you can see is saan yung mga disbursements ng goods and services, and then more importantly, saan in comparison yung need. So where are the gaps, and where can we better collaborate together using the data visualization? So the first step of that is building the mapping skills in the Philippines. We're using OpenStreetMap, which is the Wikipedia of maps, and largely used by local and international NGOs because it is the most accurate data there, and it also is free and open source. So we're doing a series of trainings we'll be announcing in early December. We've got some pilots running now, working in 11 provinces to teach people for free how to use OpenStreetMap so they can map their communities, map their high-risk areas, and map what kinds of health and possibly education and other types of programs and services they need in their communities. If there's a lack of internet access, kung kulang yung cell phone service, saan yung mga areas nun, so we can visualize the map. So not only are we providing valuable preparedness data, it's ongoing basis because we have so many natural disasters. So how can we alert the different stakeholders and be able to use the platform to provide them with the most informed decisions for our communities?
I think there are other
Can
groups
I-
that are involved
Can I
in
just,
mapping.
butt
Yes.
in?
Go ahead.
Gawin kasi mandatory. Alam mo, gamit namin yung smart dito. 12,000 ng... Ilan ba ang may Facebook sa Albay? Tingin ko 320,000. Pero yung may apps ng Pindot, free source naman siya. Dapat bago itinda to, kailangan may isang apps ng NDR, MCOCD na mandatory nandun kagad. Kasi katulad ko, tingnan mo ngayon, pati ngayon covered ng apps. Ito, lahat ng lumalabas sa Feebox, automatic gumaganyan sa akin.
So sana meron tayong isang app.
Sandali lang. Hindi lang isang apps. Kahit yung Agus, pwede, bigyan na lang sila ng menu. Ibig sabihin, may menu kung saan lahat ng apps pwede ma-download from web. But these are disaster, parang ano yan, kung saan, yan, buffet. Kung hindi buffet, mandatory. Dapat bago magtinda, ang smart.
Meron na siya.
Kung anik-anik.
Built in.
Oo, kasi sa akin, araw-araw, na alam ko, for example, kanina, alam ko kagad, alas 7, lumabas na dito yung galing sa Feebox. Pumuputok-putok na sa akin. So, pag ini-interview ako ninyo, mayroon akong isasagot. Hindi na,
Okay.
it makes sense.
Yes,
Apps,
actually.
mandatory. I think all cell phones, Androids, sold in the Philippines, should have an automatic apps on warning.
Smart and Globe, take note. Sandali. We'll go to the OST first. Thank you very much, Governor Salceda. We'll go to the OST, and then Jane was raising her hand a while ago, and then Globe, and then back to Richie.
All right, thank
Sige.
you. Thank you, First Rappler, for inviting us over. The DOST, we represent your warning agencies for Hydromet and Geologic, no, Pag-asa, and PIVOX. Against zero casualties. No? And our role, probably we're searching for our role, no, as media people, social media, and you're talking of gaps, na mga possible gaps. So before that, siguro just a rejoinder with what Governor Saceda just said. No? At this point in time, your warning agencies are very much equipped to push a lot of information and data to all of you guys. And this goes, kaya ang ganda ng partnership. I think we struck, mga simula pa lang noon, from Project NOAA and Rappler, we are pushing data at such an unbelievable pace. If you are subscribed to the Twitter feeds of Pag-asa, we are pushing rainfall, data, information, and warning in every 10 minutes. But how many of you actually retweet it? That's a very good, siguro pagandang question. No? Recently, we launched a campaign we called Iba na ang Panahon. We did the rounds together with the DILG. It was a partnership that we struck with DILG. We did the rounds of all the regions last summer. We're doing a second round right now for media rin. For media. Because ako po, personally, ang tingin ko, napakalaki ng role ng media dito sa buong equation na ito. Why? Kami po ang warning agencies, you could call us probably the content authors, di ba? In any communication process, di ba? You have the author and then the recipient. But there's somebody or somehow there's got to be somebody in between. That's the mediator. Di ba? And sino ba ang mediator? That's, of course, yung ating mga first responders. You could call it the LGU. But media is actually the mediator. So our problem is, if we're pushing all this information out, all this data out, di ba? Very, very critical sa warning process. Yung first receivers of information, what do you do with the info? Di ba? Some of you might just sit on it. Some of you might just, okay. And then end. Di ba? So, the recognition of the media, una, dapat siguro, tanungin natin sa sarili natin, in the entire warning process, ano ba tayo? If we are the mediator, then are we committed to be one? Because, you know, yung rounds namin sa media, it is so, it's so interesting because some of the media persons I was able to talk to, even broadcast, debate, sabi nila, hindi, kumbaga, hindi cast in stone ang role ng media sa disaster. May debate pa pala dyan. Ano ba ang role ng media? Diba? Ikaw ba media na magre-report o media na magwa-warn? Ang magre-report, pwede mong i-report kung ilan yung na-stranded sa pantalan. Ang magbawarn, sasabihin niya, dito ho, may mataas na storm surge na maaring dumating sa lugar na yan. So, ako yun yung natin, lahat po tayo na sa social media dito. Ano ba ang commitment? Kami, lagi sa NOAA, minsan, long Typhoon Santi, we always give this an example. Nag-tweet si Dr. Lagmay na itong path na ng Santi, no? Ang nag-retweet sa kanya, Siyam. Samantala may kasabayan na, sino ba yung Mauro Maurer? Isang artista na nag-post na ng hello, ang nag-retweet 165. So sabi niya, sabi namin dito, ang information namin, lumalabas na sa sobrang dami na namin ng information na nailalabas. We need mediators. Okay? So Project Agos is really very, very timely. And we need to strengthen yung mga mediator tools natin. Because no matter how much information, data warn, no matter how loud we shout, Pag hindi ninyo yan, i-amplify, i-multiply, ipupush, i-retweet, hindi ho makukumpleto yung ating yung process. So, ako naman, I came up with for media, I called it, andyan ba yung ayan, the
Ayun.
media commitment. Ang tawag ko, ingat. But basically, ano ba sana, no? Ang wish ko sana for media. Una, really to influence public attitude towards disaster preparedness. All right? It's such maganda pong development. I monitor media, that media, especially broadcast, is spending a lot of time on coverage, on disasters. But are they spending it, ang wish ko na lang, spend it now more on preparedness. Kasi mas mabilis ang deployment pag response na no? Kasi nandun na yung action, nandun na yung Pero yung preparedness, boring yun, di ba? Walang nagko-cover kay na reach habang sa Pasig. Pero subukan bumaha dyan, unahan ng mga OB ban dyan. Di ba? So, yun yung, and I think our role is to really neutralize inaccuracies and rumors. Very, very, kasi yung channels din natin, yung din ang dinadaanan ng rumors. And rumors kill. We've known that, di ba? Rumors kill. So I think it's very, very important that we ourselves are committed to neutralize these inaccuracies. Third, to gather and transmit data for effective response. No? Kasi tayo talaga, once NDRMC is monitoring also social channels, so nakikita rin namin, alert government efforts and relief organizations. No? Very, very vital. During Mario, again, a lot of tweets are coming in. We put up phone yung mga emergency call lines, no. Pero really very important yung role ng social media in alerting our efforts, no? Especially those of relief organizations. And last, total coverage. Yun yung sinasabi ko. If we can devote more time for total coverage, meaning how we prepare, how people actually, una muna dun sa warning, sa monitoring, and then how we respond, and then how we go to recovery. Yung mga kababayan po natin must see the entire picture, no? So, yun yung aming sanang ng wish list. Tapos, a little siguro dun kay Yusek Pama kanina, kasi he was mentioning, yes, we initiated a system called PIDRA, no, Pre-Disaster Risk Assessment. You're probably curious on what we talk about during these mga sessions na ito. It's basically investing in coffee. Yun lang usapan namin. 20 bagyo, hydromet pa yung pinafocus namin. Pero 20 beses kami magkakape. Yun yung commitment doon ng grupo. But really, what do we talk about, di ba? We focus on what we call now as the killer factors. All right? And siguro maganda ma-focus din ninyo ito. Sa hydromet, no, we're talking of typhoons, di ba? And even monsoon, dito sa ITZZs, di ba? Ang pumapatay lang naman po, ang killer factor na sinasabi ay 4. Rain, really heavy torrential rain, landslides, wind, and storm surges. I mean, scientifically, yun po ang pumapatay. Alright? So what we do in PIDRA is that we do an assessment dun sa 4 na yun. So we provide them, Pag-asa provides them with, and NOAA provides them with rainfall maps, wind maps, saan patama yung hangin, saan yung potential landslides, and storm surges. And that we provide the DILG already. So days before, we already have an inkling down to the municipality, ano yung tatamaan nung 4 na yon.
Okay.
So we focus, so siguro sa atin, when you do warning, we focus on the 4, all right? The wind, the rains that cause flooding, the wind, the landslides, and the storm surges. And now, maganda ngayon kasi we now have all the tools available at your fingertips to really access yung parameters nitong mga to. No, of course, we do the warning.
Okay.
So, right now, sinasabi ng tools namin ngayong hapon, maaaring malakas uli ang ulan dito sa Metro Manila. So, maghanda po tayong lahat.
Okay. So we have 20 minutes left. Sige. Actually, important point din yun about the media. No? We're actually working on the media kasi ang tendency sa media, kanya-kanya, competitors eh. Pero hindi nga pwedeng ganun na eh. The media should be part of the effort, and we're happy to have Inquirer here. We hope to be able to bring in the rest. No? Kasi kailangan talaga one effort, one direction, and one goal, which is zero casualty. The others, sino yung tinawag ko kanina? Sorry. Jane, we have 20 minutes left, so please try to keep your comments brief and to the point to give everybody the chance to speak. Yes.
Actually, Chai, you already said a big part of what I wanted to say, because as one of the netizens who's always online and mapping, one of the things that I really realized then was that there are so many very good efforts around, but they're all dispersed and they're not coordinated. We have apps for everything. We have the flood, the rain check, the Batingaw, we've got the Project NOAA. But it's also overwhelming for those who are coming in and saying, alin ba dito ang titingnan ko? Alin dito ang titingnan ko for me to know what will save my life? Saan dito sa mga 10 o 20 na apps na to, saan ako magpo-post? And I think that's something that we need to work on. Even, for example, the LGUs, I want to ask, or the NDRRM, pagka nandiyan na yung disaster, are you looking only at one database, or are you hopping from one database to another, trying to find out who needs rescuing? So those are some of the things that I noticed when I was mapping, because I wasn't only mapping into one database. And probably that's something that we need to look at, kasi parang we've had so many forums, we've had so many of these, and have we really made that big step forward in terms of being able to get everybody together during disasters and being able to work as one?
Yes, excellent point, Jane. We'll work on that, and then we'll see how we can move forward para hindi nga kalat-kalat at kanya-kanya, which is so typical of Pinoys, di ba? Kanya-kanya. Para tayong islands talaga, so we have to integrate. Sorry. Nauna yung taga-Globe. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, hi. Just brief, let me just share the importance of the private sector. Usually when you said about private sector in disaster response, the first thing that comes into mind is CSR, relief operations. For telcos, it's the libreng tawag. But you see, for service utilities like the telco, like Globe, all of the things that you mentioned, the Project Agos, the apps, the mapping, even the blog watch and everything, they're all based on technology. During Yolanda, we witnessed a temporary meltdown of technology. For several hours, we didn't know what happened. Okay? So let me share you the best practice of Globe. The primary importance of our business continuity setup is basically general employee readiness. What we want is, during the time of Yolanda, we have several heroic stories there where our engineers put up a temporary cell sites just to bring back network connection. But what we have to understand, they themselves were victims. Okay? So what we're doing now in Globe is that for employees, we need to secure first their families. We need to first we are creating now a plan on how to secure families in all areas, because telecommunications is crucial. Even though the government or the NDRIMC prioritize us to fly in equipments in the affected areas during Yolanda, it takes time. So employees, at the end of the day, these people on ground are crucial. Even if you have a disaster-proof network, the network will survive, the people will not. Okay, that's the first. The second one is enterprise. We need to have public utility companies should have a business continuity plan so that the people, even though they're safe, they know what to do when disaster strikes. The third one is technology recovery. It is crucial for telco to restore connection immediately so that everything that are now being done here will be connected. So that's how crucial. But we have to understand that we as telco are also dependent on power, on our generators need fuel. So we also need those. And the last one is basically business operations recovery. We need to connect our customers already. So that's what Globe is doing now based on the learnings from Yolanda, because we cannot have, even though we have several heroic stories from on ground, we cannot continue relying on these heroic stories. We need to have plans because the Typhoon Yolanda is now the new norm when it comes to typhoon readiness.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to call first the gentleman in the back, and then Kiko, and then Roderick. Tama?
Thank
Sige,
you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Haris Portugal from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. No? There's been a lot of talks about the urban area, and I'd like to invite your attention to the agriculture, the farming communities. If you remember in Typhoon Ondoy, it was also hit. Almost simultaneous with Typhoon Ondoy was Typhoon Peping. Typhoon Ondoy cut across the national capital region, Manila ang tinamaan, and the attention was in Metro Manila, when in fact, Typhoon Peping sa taas hit Region 2, Cordillera, Region 1. And then it went to South China Sea, stayed there for about 3 days, and went back to Luzon, hitting Luzon much worse. We saw on television the coffins, yung mga kabaw, ano ba? Mga kabaong sa cemetery na lumulutang sa Zambales. No? Now the same thing happened, and the attention was really on Metro Manila. The same thing happened in Typhoon Yolanda. Attention was more on Tacloban. People were really focused on Tacloban. The international news agencies were showing footages of Tacloban, when in fact, outside of Tacloban, you have your farming communities, you have your coastal fisheries, who were hit much worse. No? There were several factors here. One was that communication was down, farm-to-market roads were damaged, bridges were damaged. No? But outside of Tacloban, intindihin natin na yung mga farmers na to, they're not as, well, let's say, they're not in a position like those counterparts in the urban areas where people can go back to their workplace and resume working after a couple of days. No? Ang mga farmers walang mabalikan. Remember, Typhoon Yolanda hit on November 9, planting season was in December to January. Yun yung window na kailangan ma-restore kagad natin yung mga livelihoods nila, because if not, the farmers will have to wait for another year. Kasi hintayin nila yung next planting season to be able to harvest in October. So that means they would be dependent on food aid for almost 1 year. No? What I'm simply saying is that let's also look at outside of the urban areas, and this is also where information may be lacking, because of the telecom infrastructure there. No? For example, yung Yolanda, yung first source namin, primary source namin of information of damages are supposed to be the municipal agriculturists, the provincial agriculturists, but at that time, they themselves were victims. No? Of course, their priority was really take care of their families and their homes. So, preparedness is very important. We're working very closely with the Department of Agriculture. We're looking at, meron kami pinapilot o pilot testing of some varieties of rice. For example, in Bicol and northern Mindanao, sa Agusan, these are the flood-tolerant, saline-tolerant, drought-tolerant type of rice varieties. No? So, yun lang naman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kiko?
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Ako po si Kiko Francisco, yung coordinator po ng Risk Analysis Project for Greater Metro Manila area, and funded as well by DFAT Australia, and it's being implemented by Office of Civil Defense with Siscant agencies doing it. Ang kanina, balik tayo doon sa, I agree with yung sinabi ni Governor, no, that's your casualty, it's a body of commitments, and it starts with every individual. And collectively, we can achieve that objective. Bang kanina tinanong mo, ano ba talagang problema? Ang daming efforts na ginagawa. Almost everybody is doing something about the RRM. Pero majority kasi sa kababayan natin, hanggat hindi nila nakikita yung disaster o yung hazard nandyan na hindi aaksyon. And I think yung project, for the past 3 years, yung project po namin, ang objective niya is to enhance the capacity of our scientific agencies in doing the scientific way of doing risk analysis. Ngayon, sa akin, nakikita ko yung Project Agos could help us a lot disseminating this information. Although, early this year, we conducted IEC campaign and we covered all barangays po ng Metro Manila and the 4 provinces nearby, Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal. But ang audience po namin are all barangay officials for them to appreciate and understand these maps. Ngayon, ang nakikita ko, I've been pushing for Project Agos. Alam ni Ma'am Gemma yan that I'm supporting them all throughout nung start pa lang. And I wanted our Siscan partners to be engaged as well. Kasi po ang intention namin is bigyan ng opportunity ang every individual to imagine the coming of a certain disaster. Hindi yung mag-aantay tayo, nagbigay na ng announcement ang Pag-asa, but we still on staying there. Kasi hindi nila nakikita what would happen until nakikita na nila yung flowing of water. But if there is a venue that could help them create or imagine things, such as those maps that were produced, hindi lang po ng Risk Analysis Project, yung Project NOAA, and so many other efforts kagaya ng sa community-based, kung yun makikita at maintindihan ng every individual at ma-imagine niya, sa pula ko dito and I've seen the effects of these hazards. So siguro yun medyo malaking tulong yun na ma-achieve natin yung zero casualty. And I guess Project Agos is one way to really help it na maka-disseminate at ma-imagine ng bawat individual ano ba yung pinag-uusapan nating disaster.
Yes, hindi dapat maging experiential pa, di ba? Hindi dapat umabot sa ganong level. Yes, Roderick.
Good morning to all. Of course, first of all, in behalf of our chairman, Richard Gordon, and Secretary General Gwendolyn Pang, we thank you for inviting Red Cross. And of course, it's been long years that Rappler and Red Cross work together, particularly in tracing, psychosocial support. No, I believe I experienced a lot talking with ma'am. What I would like to share is one of the national program of the Red Cross. I would like to go back in what we do in the community. We have this long-term program that what we call Red Cross 143. 143 meaning if you be in a Red Cross 143, you will love Red Cross. No, but Red Cross 143 is actually a core of volunteers at the community level, meaning one leader, 43 members. Imagine that in a community, you divide it into 4 quadrants. We recruit 11. The main purpose of this is to implement 4Ps, not the DSWD 4Ps. It's a different one. It's more related in resilience. We teach the community to be more how to predict, prepare, plan, and practice. And the most important is how to assess and report, because this is the most important part in disaster management or even in disaster response. Like in the Red Cross, we are not just only particular on what are the needs in the community level, but how we are going to go into the community, meaning is access available? What are the basic lifelines are still functional or not functional? Because this is part of the basic survival of the community. In the Red Cross also, in this community, we make them more responsible citizen that in disaster management, it's not only retroactive but also proactive. Dapat before pa lang, hindi natin iniisip na parating na yung bagyo. Dapat hindi pa parating yung bagyo, alam na natin sa community saan yung risk areas, sino yung mga most vulnerable people that are most likely to be affected. For example, ngayon, di ba, may bagyo tayo. Although yung si typhoon now currently so in our mind we are already telling the volunteer we have to be prepared. It might be another habagat, it might be another flooding. Ngayon ang flooding is no longer simple, it really massive that really affects each and every one. So sa Red Cross 143, the main objective din dito is to help the government as Red Cross being the auxiliary to be more resilient, no, na talagang dapat ma-accept ng bawat tao na yung disaster sa Philippines, part na siya. Hindi na natin siya kayang alisin. So, kumbaga, dito yung sinasabi nga ni Governor Salceda na yung adaptation, no, yun yung isa sa mga pinaka-importante. Salamat po.
Okay, thank you. Oh. Sige. He hasn't spoken, yes. Sorry, I can't see. Richard of Peco John.
Yes, I'm Dr. Richard Cachowa from Peco John, the Peace and Conflict Journalist Network in the Philippines and also in other countries. So my comment has to do with the folly and vanity of media for the past years that we have seen. No? Folly, for we have seen journalists actually putting themselves at risk, at harm's risk, just to magnify and allow themselves to report supposedly sensationalized projects and news items. Vanity, for we've seen also media try to promote themselves. For example, a network trying to do some sort of CSR, rescue operations, relief operations, response operations, but we know very well that they're promoting themselves. It's a brand they're promoting. But Peco John is trying to surface quality, conflict-sensitive reports and also enable community journalists in the field. And what I like about the zero casualty project of Rappler and this Project Agos is that it's an undercurrent of enabling communities, actually, and not exactly to promote the media or even Rappler, but it's actually individuals who can report and respond. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Sige po, yung sa likod.
I'm Byron Peralta from Batanes. Zero casualty. Sanay kami dyan sa zero casualty. Si Governor Salceda, 18 years sabi niya, kami 27 years zero casualty. And it's, ang dami kong naririnig, paghandaan, trainings, disaster management, sa amin way of life. It's a way of life na kultura na namin. So there would be no other good example than Batanes. Natatakot lang ako dahil yung DRRM law, kasi sa amin meron kaming indigenous way of disaster management or predicting the weather, kung anong mangyayari sa susunod na araw. Doon sa disaster DRRM law, baka ito ay isang imposition sa indigenous practice namin at masisira yung kinaugalian namin na ginagawa tuwing may disaster. Then another one is from the media organizations or the academe, meron na kayang nakapagsulat ng experience namin sa Batanes that it can be emulated in
Sige,
parts
pupunta
of the
kami.
country. Okay? That's all. Thank you.
Salamat. Pupunta kami sa height ng bagyo. Yes, Richie.
Yeah, sundutin ko lang yung tungkol sa apps. There's so many, ang problema nakikita namin dyan is interpreting all this data. All these apps are useless. Nakita mo yung Doppler, kung hindi mo alam interpret yan, bali wala. Kita mo yung sinabing rainfall, ganyan, hindi yung interpret. In the end, it falls down to your own locality. That's what the government should do. All localities should have their own way of informing their constituents. Why? Because every locality is different. Albay is different from Pasig. You cannot teach what they learn in Albay and do it in a highly urbanized area. It's different. Iba yung pag-handle ng CBDRM training sa rural areas and urban areas. USAID knows that kasi I was part of the other projects nila na ginawa sa Pilipinas. Yun nga, who will interpret it? Kasi in every LGU, different yan. And in the end, ang dapat lang tandaan ng bawat isa, remember, yung sinabi ng Globe or SMART, you should act before everything stops. Don't depend on these apps because a worst case scenario, it will not work. So, people should be trained properly. It should, yung sinabi ko kanina, zero casualty should be a way of life. Everybody's responsibility yan. Kaya ang kailangan dyan, you should know how to interpret it earlier. Because when it happens, wala ka ng cellphone. Wala ka ng internet. So what now? So people should be trained that they should go to their LGU or barangay captains and find out beforehand, what is this? What's going to happen in our own area? Kasi ang binibigay ng pag-asa, in general yan, hindi magiging specific yan. It's not localized. That's why in other countries, localized pa yan. Alam nila kung gano'ng karaming ulan lang talaga sa area nila. So we should be trying to educate everybody na kailangan makipag-coordinate sila sa LGU. Second, kung tayo magiging apps din, reminder sa lahat, bumabaksak ang server natin sa Pag-asa. I always suggest there should be a separate server for government users and for civilian. That's what they do in Korea. When we went, Pag-asa and I was part of the project there in Korea, iba ang link ng kuha ng gobyerno at kuha ng civilian. Kasi nga kami na, tumitingin na lahat kami sa NOAA, sa Doppler. Pag lahat tayo naging popular, nagagamit lang naman yan pag matinding ulan. Mamaya down na yan. Wala na kami lahat. Ang problema, pati kaming government user na kailangan namin tulungan yung, wala na kami magamit. Wala na kami makita. Kasi nga, lahat, nag-down na ang server. And it should be, dapat maasikaso yan. And for cellphone, telcos, siguro dapat magkaisa na. Tumulong sila. Dahil all these tweets, yung problema ng Pag-asa, libre lang yan text yan. In Europe, in London, there's an emergency broadcast system na dinadaan nila for free. Magugulat ka kahit anong cellphone mo, basta meron niyang nakakatanggap yan ng information for free. Kung merong bagyo, biro mo kung walang nilalabas nila to, but everybody will know that there's a heavy rainfall or thunderstorm. Lalo na thunderstorm, kailangan nyo yun. Kasi yung po mabigat sa atin sa Metro Manila, mabilis po lumalabas yan, even Pag-asa, mahirap pong habulin yan. Bigla na lang susulput yan, na huwag niyong sisihin sila, talagang minsan makapakahirap po talagang bantayan ng thunderstorm, and mas nakakatakot po yun. Yung lately, nangyayari sa atin, na binabaha ang Metro Manila, those are thunderstorms, hindi na po habagat yan, paamihan na po tayo eh. So those are thunderstorms na bigla tayong nilulubog. Yung nagpalubog sa Australia before, those are thunderstorm, hindi naman typhoon yun. So this information, Smart, Globe, Sun, and NTC, kung ililibre yun na lahat nakakatanggap tayo, yan ang importante, and more to interpret it. We should interpret it. Kasi these apps are useless if no one is interpreting it.
Okay. I think it's been a very fruitful discussion. This is just the beginning. It's great to see different groups in one room. And I think we all feel that there is a need to work together. Hindi kayang mag-isa. Hindi pwedeng iisa kanya-kanyang effort, whether it's in the media, the private sector, LGUs, community organizers, NGOs, or academe. We have to work together and integrate and coordinate our efforts. Siguro yung tanong doon is, who's going to coordinate everything? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. We will try. But we have to go beyond fora and forums like this. Kailangan siguro yung training and implementation of things na hindi na i-implement, na narinig na natin kanina. We hope to do more of this, and we hope to be able to achieve the goal of zero casualty. But we'd like to hear from Gemma Bagayawa. She's done a lot for Project Agos, and I think those of you who are here have met her in the past and had met with her in the past. Let us please welcome Gemma for our closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So at one point in the